Hi everyone, Jennifer here. I'm so excited to be doing a long-awaited reader Q&A with you in today's video. I have a lot of questions to get through, so let's get started. Let's jump into the Q&A. I have so many questions. So I got a letter from Tokyo and from a wonderful 21-year-old woman there who is a fan of the books. And I won't read her whole email to me, but she talked about how she read my book when she was a junior and it changed her life. She says, I've been trying to be classy and elegant and I feel much more comfortable. However, not all of my friends are gracious since they do things that are not in line with my values. I started to realize that I have lost some of my friends, even though I did not shut them out on purpose. They just naturally faded away from me because I'm no longer interesting to them. I even feel that I cannot attract a man ever since I started a chic lifestyle. They seem to think I take things too seriously and that I'm old-fashioned. My value completely concurs with that of yours and Madame Chic's, but I've never felt so alone as I do now. Sometimes I even think that I'm on the wrong track. I know that being chic and poised is not supposed to lead to isolation, but in my case, it did. If you have any advice, I would love to hear it. I'm sure you are very busy, but she goes on to close her letter. So she had read Polish or Poised with Madame Chic in Japan, and the books, the Madame Chic books, have changed her life, and she's changed how she lives, and she's living this chic and poised and elegant life, but she's finding that she's not fitting in with her friends. And she's feeling isolated because of it. So I actually personally wrote back to her. So we've corresponded already, but I asked her if I could share part of her email on this video to discuss this, because when you decide to make a change and you decide to lead a life of poise and to live a beautiful life like the type that I write about in the Madame Chic books, sometimes you can feel isolated. Maybe you realize that none of your friends value that, or you know, you just can't seem to find a peer group that has the same worldview as you do as far as this is concerned. And it can be isolating. So my advice to her was to definitely just stick with the path that she's on, because that is who she is authentically now. And she expressed that in her letter. So don't get rid of that. But I said that she would naturally attract people over time who were in line with her same values, with the same things that she holds dear as well. As far as the loneliness and isolation goes right now, definitely talk to somebody about it. You know, she reached out to me, which was really nice, but if she could talk to somebody else about it, that always helps. And there's always wonderful communities online of like-minded people, like on the Daily Connoisseur. That's what I'm always saying about my blog, is that it's full of like-minded women and who value these things. So it's just good to find people that you can really connect with on that level. But also just don't give up on this path that you're on to better yourself, and just know that you will attract the right kind of people into your life, and you'll be so much happier when you do. Printed out my questions from Instagram. I asked people on Instagram for questions. I always think I'm gonna get around 5, but I got over 100. So obviously I cannot answer all of them, but I am just going to try to go through as many as possible. Okay, so Marcia Razzo 16 asks, how tall are you? So I'm about 5 foot, 5.5 inches tall. So I'm not really tall, but I'm also not really short. I'm just about average height. Julia Prenzler asks, how do you fit in time for fitness? So for those of you who have read my book, you know that I like to incorporate exercise into my everyday life. So I incorporate fitness by, honestly, cleaning the house, running after the kids, doing things with them. I like to go on walks, which I've started doing, and I like to jump on the rebounder, and I have videos about that that could answer your question a bit more. Okay, Desert Rose 714 writes, I struggle with 2 children and you have twice as much. How do you keep your sanity? How do you or plan to fit some time for yourself in, since you are stay-at-home homeschool mom and you work? So I got a lot of this type of question. A lot of people asked how I'm able to have 4 children and work at the same time and homeschool and still have time for myself. And I've answered this before. I do like to get up a lot earlier than my household. I usually get up at 5:30 and I go to bed a lot later than they do. I still get enough sleep, So I usually go to bed at about 11:30, and then I usually wake up at 5:30. So 11:30, and I wake up at 5:30. Since I've had the baby, I have not been strictly waking up at 5:30, but some days I do and some days I don't. Today I did actually wake up. He happened to wake me up at that time, so I thought I'm just going to get up for the day. And that's just what I do. I've cut out a lot, and I've discussed this a lot, but I've cut out television watching and all sorts of things in order to get what I really like doing in, which is reading and just relaxing with my kids and things like that. If I'm looking glowy, it's because I'm really hot. I've got this light on me. All right, let's keep going here. Jessica Balsley writes, I followed the 10-item wardrobe with you for several years. I have trouble being content with what I choose each season. I find myself adding or switching out more than I would like, sometimes with new items and sometimes with stored items. I know you make adjustments, but talk more about sticking to your capsule. So I guess her question is, what do you do about that? And I think a lot of people do struggle with that with the 10-item wardrobe. They struggle with indecision, or they struggle with, that need to want more clothing. So, I mean, all I can say is from my personal experience is that over time that fades away, and it's absolutely acceptable to make corrections mid-season to your wardrobe. If you find something that's in there that you just don't wear at all, that's good actually, because now you're refining your true style even more. You know that that's the type of piece that you just have no interest in wearing, and that's good. You'll never get something like that again, and you can donate that and move on. And so I look at it as a good thing rather than a crutch. So I've actually recently added a dress to my 10-item wardrobe, which I'll talk to you about, I'm sure in another video. But yeah, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so strict. Just enjoy the 10-item wardrobe. And truly over time, it will be refined, and you will have a wardrobe that you're totally content with. Your desire to go shopping will go away. It will. I have a 10-item wardrobe e-course, and I talk about that extensively in the course, and so I can link all of my things below. But that's my advice to you with that. So it will go away over time, but in the meantime, don't be hard on yourself. Really do find what it is that you love to wear. That's the point of it. You're really investigating this so that you're able to wear clothes that you feel beautiful in and that you love. The same person asks, I would also like to hear about staying chic in the vehicle with kids. How do you manage the hauling of kids and keeping a clean and organized car and staying calm and happy in the car? Okay, this is really funny. I have a really funny story for you, and I'm gonna tell it to you really quickly. So I tried to clean the car out once a week. But recently, when we had the baby, obviously at the end of my pregnancy, and I just wasn't cleaning anything out. And then we had the baby, and I was just, totally occupied with other things. I didn't clean out my car. And every day I had it on my to-do list, clean the car, clean the car. I never did it. And it was messy. I mean, let me just preface this by saying it was horrifically messy. There was just all sorts of stuff in the car. Like the kids just brought so much stuff. And it was crazy. So one day my husband took the girls to Lake Arrowhead for the afternoon, and when they got back, he parked on the driveway for some reason, and the girls never close the door to our minivan. They never do it when they leave. They always leave it open, and it's really annoying, and I'm always telling them, please close the door. They didn't close the door, and it was on the driveway. A few hours after they got back, our neighbor knocks on the door, and he said, oh, good, you're home. He's like, I was worried because your car door has been open for a few hours and it looks like you got robbed. The car was so messy that he thought that we'd been robbed. And so I was so embarrassed. Why does this happen, honestly? So I thanked him, and that was it. But I just said, it's time to clean the car. So I ended up cleaning it that night. But it's funny, sometimes it takes things like that to do this. But so to answer your question, no, my car is not always clean. I try to clean it once a week. And staying calm in the car, I just am. If the kids are crying or the baby's crying or someone's having a tantrum, I just remain calm. Remaining calm while you're driving is very important, especially these days. So I never look at text messages. That type of thing while I'm driving. So that's just to answer your question there. I got a question here on Instagram that says, hi Jennifer, regarding the Polish Your Poise book, without sounding mean or being misjudged, how do you maintain your poise when dealing with extended family or others? For instance, if you are unhappy about something or you're feeling boredom and frustration because of the way that you do things. I get this question a lot too, and my advice is, okay, when you're dealing with family, it's very important. I hear my kids screaming in the background. Dealing with family, it's very important to be respectful, even more so than when you're dealing with strangers. We must respect our family members and the way that they do things, and accept that it's fine if they don't do things the way that we do things. This sort of ties into the first question that I discussed. And yes, you might feel frustrated, you might even be horrified, but it doesn't matter. Long term, it's more important to maintain healthy relationships with your family members. It really is. And so if somebody offends you or does something that bothers you, I just pause. I pause, especially if I'm angry. Pause. Don't say something that you don't mean. You can never take it back, you know? So I just say give your family grace and just realize that not everybody can read your mind and is living in your world. And you just be the example that you want to be with Poised, with the way that you want to live and how you want to do things. That's just my advice for you. I'd like to hear from all of you as well. So if there's any question here that I'm discussing and you have something to add to it, be sure to leave it in the comment section below. I have a question from Gemma here that says, "Hi Jennifer, I'd really love your advice on the following subject. My husband recently left and we are sadly going through a divorce. I have 3 children and have been left in a terrible financial position. My natural instinct is to be very angry and bitter, and certainly those around me that care about me and my children often badmouth my husband and encourage me to act in the same way. My question is, how do I attempt to behave with poise and decorum during all of this? I want to manage it all graciously, but I still need to fight for what I'm entitled to. Thank you." I just want to say that I'm sorry, and that's a horrible thing for you to be going through, you and your children, and so I'm really sorry. And I and this whole community reach out and we just want to give you a big hug. But during this time, it is very important for you to talk to people so that you don't feel lonely and isolated. So my advice to you is to not badmouth your husband, of course, in front of your children. No matter what he's done, no matter what other people are saying, he's their father. And so it's important that you don't do that. I think most people would agree with me on this. It's hard, and if you're angry and you feel bitter, and of course, you know, you're in the right, it's hard. But it's really important to maintain your poise, and you're going to be really tested. This situation will be used to refine you and to honestly just sharpen you, and it's going to be really hard. But my advice is to not badmouth him in front of your children. And you can get through this. Rely on the help from family and friends. And of course, absolutely, you know, seek counseling if this is something that is going to be really hard for you to go through on your own. It's really important to talk to somebody else about it. Okay, Melissa Marie Ricci writes, "What are some of your family favorite recipes? And how do you recommend starting to wake up earlier than your kids? Any tips? Alarm clock across the room? Haha. I struggle with this tremendously." My family favorite recipes, I pretty much do them all on this channel. So if you've seen any of my recipes, I have a playlist called Daily Connoisseur Recipes. These are our family favorites. I make a lot of different types of dishes and things like that, but I have a whole playlist with that. And I have someone trying to come in the room. Who is it? Who's doing a video?
Daddy?
Hi. No, where's Daddy?
Over there.
Oh, do you want to say hi really quickly? Okay. Do you want to say hi? Would you do the hiccups?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Mom.
Hi. Okay, there's actually some drama going on downstairs. Ben found a lizard in the homeschool room, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to go back to shooting my video. I'm not getting involved in that. So if you hear screaming, that's what that's about. Okay, back to her question. Waking up early. So she joked about, do you keep the alarm clock across the room? I actually do, but only because I don't want my phone by my head, and my phone is my alarm clock. So I do keep the phone across the room. But I actually don't set my alarm clock. I naturally wake up at 5:30 a.m. And if you do that, if you set your alarm for a while, your body clock will naturally wake up early. It will. It'll be really uncomfortable, but you will eventually wake up early. I hear screaming from the lizard. Katrina Ariana writes, have you considered going back to France with your family? It's so close to England and it would be amazing to hear your thoughts on France today after writing the Madame Chic books. Yes, I do. And actually, our family, I'll have an announcement much later in 2019, but we are going to be spending a lot of time in England in 2019. And of course, you will be coming along with us. And we hope to also go to France as well. Wouldn't that be awesome? So yes, we would love to do that. I get this question all the time and I've answered it many times over, but I'll answer it again in this video. Do you ever keep in touch with the original Chic family from Paris? I love your books and I can't wait for the next one. And that comes from Mulberry 428. I lived with the Chic family back in 2001 and they always had a student. I was just one of many. I was one of that semester. They had one the previous semester. They had them, I assume, after me, and they had many before me. And so I remember when I got back to Los Angeles that I would write them letters, but I never heard back from them. But I wasn't surprised about that because when I lived with them, they would receive letters from former students and they would all sit around in the living room and read the letter and they'd say, oh, that's nice, and then they'd put it away. So they never, as far as, I just heard my husband scream about the lizard. As far as I know, they never wrote back to the people who stayed with them, and they never wrote me back either. Well, I wrote my book, Lessons from Madame Chic, 10 years after I lived with them. So I did write them to tell them that I wrote this book. This is back when I self-published it, and I didn't hear from them. I wasn't surprised, but I figured they probably wouldn't be that interested in the self-published book. Then when the book got picked up by Simon & Schuster, I wrote them back again to tell them, but I never heard back. I waited a few years and I actually wrote them back again, and that letter was returned to me saying undeliverable address. So I don't know if they've moved or what, but I have never communicated with them about the book, although I have written to them at least 3 times telling them about the book, and I even have that last letter that was returned back to me. So no, I'm not in contact with them, but I would love to be in contact with them one day. And wouldn't it be amazing if Madame Chic knew how many people she has inspired? Erica writes, did you always hope to be a writer or did it happen out of circumstances? So I talk about this extensively in my self-publishing success video, which I will link above. But yes, when I was a child, I did want to be a writer. It was something that I wanted for years. And then I lost sight of that in my early 20s, went back to it in my late 20s when I enrolled in a writing class. So that's the short version of the story. But yes, I did want to be a writer, and it's just something that I enjoy immensely. Jolly Ruffle asks, we know your husband Ben is from England, but what is your family's background? So my father is American, and you know, he was born here in California, and my mother is actually from Panama. So many people ask me that. And my father met my mother while he was stationed in the military in Panama. And they have been married for almost 50 years now. So they've been married a very long time. So that is my background. I am half Panamanian. Okay, Teodora writes, my name is Teodora and I'm originally from Romania, but married my American husband and we live here in the States. I would love to hear your perspective on the idea of a multicultural family, dealing with everyday life, raising children, etc. Did you and your husband have to deal with culture clash, and how did you resolve it? What's some advice that you might have for couples such as ourselves? Thank you for your time and thank you for being such an inspiration. Thank you. Okay, this is a really good question. And you know, I had a lot of marriage related questions, like how did you meet your husband, marriage related stuff. And I actually would like to bring Mr. Connoisseur in for that, for a couples Q&A one day. But I'll answer this question really quickly because I think it's something that a lot of people deal with now. You know, in the olden days, you just married someone from your town, and there's a lot of wisdom in that, to be honest. But now there's just a lot of couples, you know, from different countries. So yeah, so my parents, like I said, were from different countries. My mother's from Panama, my dad's American, so they, I'm sure, had a lot of culture clashes. Ben and I are from different countries, and yeah, it does. I mean, I would say that Ben and my biggest problem, and this is actually quite a big one, is communication. We still, even though we've been married for 12 years, we have trouble communicating because he has a very discreet, subtle way of communicating, and I'm more of, I can't read minds. Do you know what I mean? So I need someone who is more blunt and more straight to the point about things, whereas he likes to insinuate things and he's very subtle with what he's trying to tell me. but I don't understand his subtlety. So that for us, communication is the biggest problem. And I think that's probably the case for many people from different countries. You're just used to different things, a different way of life, different communication styles, and especially if there's a language barrier there as well. So that can cause a lot of trouble. But, you know, Ben and I have really worked through a lot of things. And even, you know, this summer there was, we were talking about something and we were having a disagreement, and I just said, okay, this is what I need from you. I said to him, I said, I just need you to be very blunt with me when you're trying to tell me something important. Just spell it out for me, because it might just go over my head. I've got so much, the kid's always talking to me, and if you're talking to me, I might miss it. So I had to say that to him, because he doesn't do that. And I'm sure that there's a million things that I do that he is not used to as well. So just communication is very important, and it's important to communicate how you need to communicate, or how you can effectively do that with your spouse who is from a foreign country. So that's my advice to you there, but I would love to bring him in for one of these chats. Okay, a lot of people asked about kids' nighttime routines and if we sleep train. And there goes the door, it sounds like a ghost. To be honest, I did something different with every child, and that's why I think it's funny. You know, we have 4 children now. I wonder what I'm going to do with this one. But I really, like I said, I went into parenting knowing nothing, and so I didn't really quite know what to do. With my first child, we didn't sleep train her, but she had sleep issues for a long time. My second child, we did sleep train her, and she slept from when she was 4 months. You know, the whole night in her crib. But we did sleep train her. We let her cry a little bit, and then we would go in and everything like that. So we did something calculated. With my son, I was just, you know, it was a few years later, and I was just so happy to have another baby that I was like, I'm not gonna sleep train him. And he's fine, he's a great sleeper. All of my kids are really good sleepers, and I did something different with all of them, which goes to show that there's no right answer on how to train your kids how to sleep. So my second daughter was the only one who we actually did something with. Like, we thought, oh, let's try this method where we put her in and she cried for a few minutes, and then we would go in and rub her back, and then eventually she'd just go to sleep. So, but I didn't do that with any of the others. I probably won't do that with our new baby either, because I don't know, I feel like, well, he's probably our last baby, and I just really am enjoying every single moment with him. I have a lot of people saying, Jennifer, you're doing too much too soon. As I'm shooting this video, he's a month old today. But that's just us. We just, you know, we just get on with family life, and everybody's incorporated into it. And I, you know me, I like to do things. I'm not content resting all the time. And that's not to say that that's bad. Just everybody has a different style. For some reason, when I am a parent, my children really inspire me. Like, I wrote lessons for Madame Chic when my first daughter was only 6 months old. And that's when most people are totally overwhelmed with being a new parent. So there's something about that just, it puts me under the fire, and I just get excited and creative. So that's how I feel, especially with this one too. There's no difference. So anyway, that's that. And I just wanted to thank everybody for your well wishes and everything. The baby's doing great. We're all doing great. And it's just been wonderful. So that is it for today's video. I don't want it to go too long. I could do another Q&A in the future. Maybe I could do a live one, so, you know, we could do something like that. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on any or all of the topics that we discussed in today's video. What do you think? Do you have anything to add? Any tips? Any more questions? Let me know in the comment section below. Your comment could be chosen as comment of the week on the Daily Connoisseur. Thanks so much for joining me in today's video, and I will see you next time. Bye!